If he didn't do what was asked, he would be out the door, something he definitely didn't want. Mark pulled off his shirt, then his jeans, and stood in his boxers. "What's your name?" he said, suddenly feeling he should know what to call the girl he was about to have sex with. "You're not here to ask questions." She ran the green eyes over him from top to toe. "Now the boxers." In a show of bravado, Mark exposed himself. She studied him intently, then licked her lips, the result of which was a shot of an aphrodisiac he didn't require. "OK, now lie down." Relieved that he had passed muster, Mark did as ordered. The few clothes she wore were removed in seconds. Then she stood before him in all her glory. Mark drank in the smooth white skin, the pink pointy nipples, the neat brush of auburn hair highlighted between the long smooth legs. Who was the lucky one now? When the cat suddenly jumped on the bed to spoil his view, Mark tried to sweep it aside. "Leave it," she said sharply. Before he could protest, the cat had settled on his face, its silky warm body acting like a suffocating blindfold. The purring rose to a crescendo as its open claws kneaded his shoulder. Mark's surprised cry was smothered in hot fur. He could no longer see the girl, but he felt her climb aboard and firmly straddled him. As she lowered herself, pain and pleasure met and exploded in his head. His stomach heaved, bringing him back to consciousness. Mark rolled onto his side and vomited a pool of warm, stale beer on the carpet. Where the hell was he? He shivered suddenly in his nakedness. Flashes of memory began bombarding his brain. The girl staring down at him, the smothering action of the cat, the crazy coupling. He turned to check the other side of the bed, but there was no one there. The luminous dial on his watch told him it was 5 o'clock in the morning. Sitting up, he swung his feet out of the bed, trying to avoid the wet patch caused by his vomit, but not entirely succeeding. He contemplated his next move, which should be to get dressed and leave as quickly as possible. Rising a little shakily, he located the pile that was his clothes. As he dressed, a pair of green eyes appeared suddenly in the semi-darkness. He recalled the cat settling on his face, and the girl ordering him to leave it there. The memory brought a rush of pleasure. For a moment he was back there, wanting more of the same. Then the whiff of his vomit reminded him it was wiser to leave. Now. Dressed, he checked the corridor, found it empty, and stepped out of the room to be presented with 4 doors leading off the hall, all of them closed. Mark stood for a moment, trying to recall last night and which door might be the exit point. Finally accepting that he had no idea, he chose one and attempted to open it as quietly as possible. Immediately, the cat tried to squeeze past his ankles, mewing loudly. Mark swore under his breath, attempted to stop it with his foot, and tripped over it instead. The cat sprang into the room, tail bristling, with Mark stumbling headlong into the darkness in its wake. He eventually righted himself and stood very still, praying the room, whatever its purpose, was unoccupied. Moments later, he decided it was, although something had definitely spooked the cat. Its mewing had changed into a high-pitched keening sound that reverberated through his brain and would eventually rouse anyone else who might be in the flat, which meant he should get out of here and quickly. Mark swung round, desperate now to make his exit, and immediately walked into a small hanging object. As spooked as the keening cat, he tried to sweep it aside, only to have it swing back at him and poke him in the eye. Swearing under his breath, he caught the offending item in his hand. In the faint light from the hall, he saw now that it was a doll, naked, long-legged, with pert breasts and flowing silver-blonde hair. It hung from the ceiling via a length of cord wound tightly around its neck. Jesus, last night had been weird, but this was even weirder. Mark released the doll in distaste, and it swung away from him, only to immediately collide with something else, setting off a series of eerie clicks and clacks, accompanied by the creak of moving objects